Did you hear that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, just checking. Okay, welcome
Hello.
to the Seahawk podcast.
I love it. Well, thanks for having me.
No, I love these kind of exchanges that feel more like mutually beneficial, and it's so much more empowering when you can bounce ideas off each other and talk about stuff and not feel lonely.
Yeah, I know, definitely. Yeah, start to feel like I'm wandering around the world, and it's hard to find people to conversate with sometimes,
I know, right? We
or
actually
something
went
like
out
that.
last night and we were like, okay, let's go like bar hopping basically, like our style of bar hopping. So check out all the healthy places to eat in town and see who's open and if they're occupied. And then we'll go there and see if we can strike up a conversation with someone. And more times than often, and it, I mean, I don't want to say it fails, but we end
It's
up just only talking to each other.
I see. Yeah, yeah. It's sort of I don't know, like a hit or miss or a rare occurrence when you finally grab hold of someone.
Yeah, but I think there's like ways around. I'm starting to think of different ways around that, and doing more lives, doing more of this actually, um, rather than going out to try and find someone to talk to is actually more productive at the moment. But I want to start doing some workshops, like some live in person workshops. I think that would be a better way to connect with people.
And just on any kind of topic.
On well, uh, on things like brewing your own enzymes, because Zen
Hmm.
Cleanse is so popular right now. And yes, they have access to all these different herbs and the however many years of fermenting, but you can do a lot in your kitchen in 3 months, and get on a routine and start longer brews and do it all yourself.
And
And
is this with like
oh, you froze. Ah, okay. Let's just wait and see if he comes back in. So yeah, enzyme production. I know he's going to ask a lot about that one. Boop. Oh, I can hear you. Strange. I can't hear you. Okay, he's going to rejoin. I love it. Tech. Let me just see what's going on here on my end.
okay. Yeah, so
Okay.
you're like, I know he's gonna ask about the enzyme stuff, and right as I was asking that is when it cut out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
feel that
Okay.
coming. So, what was your
Hmm.
question exactly?
So is it with herbs or herbs and plants or
You can do it
plasma or
with,
anything?
well, I haven't done it with plasma, although I am starting to experiment with plasma. But it's basically fermentation. So I use sugar for the starter culture. You're basically making vinegar, like a live vinegar, apple cider vinegar, like the live one that you can buy in the shops in the bottle. You're kind of
Yeah.
like making that. That's like that really is a live enzyme. Those are enzymes. That's vinegar basically is that.
Okay.
So Zen cleanse, you can call it all, they aren't going to call it vinegar. Like the enzyme is like a more precise name for what it is. It's not really vinegar. We just associate that vinegar with the flavor and the culinary kind of experience, but it's actually like living enzymes. That's why the apple cider vinegar is so powerful for some people, just adding that to their daily routine. But you can make that yourself. And so you can make it out of all kinds of different things. And the cool thing about it is, I mean, you can get as fancy as you want to get. Like you can use whatever kinds of fruits you want and herbs. You can do second ferments where you ferment like the organic matter, like the fruit itself, and then let that ferment for like 3 months, say, and filter that off. And then with that, do a second ferment with your herbs, with the more softer, delicate things. It just really depends on what it's so dynamic. It's really up to the individual. And the way I do it is I actually don't use fresh fruit. I use the peel, like the part that you would normally throw away, because there's so much power in the skin, like the citrus peel and pineapple skin and all of basically my fruit remnants, what people would call waste. I ferment that before I put it into my compost. So, yeah, fruit and some herbs. Like sometimes instead of adding fresh water, I'll boil some spices and herbs and make like a brew and use that liquid as the base for what I'm fermenting. So it's super dynamic. We could do a whole, like, maybe one day I'll do like a live workshop
Yeah.
with
Yes.
someone. Like if you wanted to do that, we could do it and do a live workshop, and you could just like, I could tell you what you need and we could kind of do it together, whatever. Like, open invitation
Yeah.
there to collaborate something.
I like
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, so you basically ferment that for 3 months, and then sort of a minimum. 3 months is sort of a magical number in the fermentation world. This is where you can eliminate like all of the glyphosates from whatever it is. This is pretty much gone after 3 months, and a lot of change takes place there. And then you can let it go longer if you want. I have some that are just, I haven't batched them off and they're just still chugging away. I have several 100 liters of this stuff. So I use it in a lot of different ways. I actually use it to wash my fruits and vegetables, not just as
Interesting.
and some are used for pest control. So it depends on the grade. And then some are used as a tonic for myself in my I actually add it to my food. I don't really take it as a supplement in that way.
Okay.
I add it to my water. So all of the water that I drink is fermented, which is basically like structured water. You're basically brewing structured water is what's happening.
Wow. Yes. Yes.
And we drink this so much on a daily basis now for quite a while. And I do the water kefir on top of this, but like that's a whole other brew. But
Okay.
if someone I was joking around with Lee and I'm like, hey, if someone just came into our space and started chugging this back the way we are, they would definitely have an elimination. Like,
Yeah.
but when you take it daily, it really you really feel that cleanliness in the body.
That sounds very, very lovely. All of that. And so I guess you
Mm-hmm.
could tailor different batches, maybe some for like energy, like you drink in the morning, and maybe
Totally.
some make you tired at night kind of thing, depending on what you're putting in there.
Yeah. And you can make ones like for when you actually do have a big detox symptom, or you have a seasonal detox, like if you have I mean, everybody sort of is on a kind of schedule with nature in that department, where these
Yeah.
seasonal things that happen. So you can brew one like for a spring, like wherever you have a thing like that. Yeah.
Right now, I'm dealing with allergies, pollen allergies.
Oh
So you could
wow.
probably do some kind of honey, maybe a honey or local
Mm,
pollen fermentation.
yeah, and you can use honey like as a starter too for your brew. And then after a while, like if you're when you're doing this for a while and all this filtering off, and it's like sourdough starter. You always have this like a little bit of discard. And so I always dump all of my discards into this one container and I just keep putting them there, like the bottom of the pot kind of thing. And then sometimes I'll add some sugar water to that. And now I've got like a Scooby going. So uh, Scoobies we associate them with kombucha, with tea, but Scoobies, symbiotic colonies of yeast and bacteria, are that's what the mother culture is. That's what they're saying on the bottle of the apple cider vinegar, that the mother culture is in there. That means if you actually leave that bottle sit long enough, it will grow a Scooby on top
I have
because
some
it's
apple
alive.
cider vinegar right now. It's down to the last little bit of it, but it
Just
does
leave it.
has the Scooby inside of it.
Oh,
So could I add
yeah.
water and sugar and help it to kind of grow or propagate?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can add some other things in there like a date or a
Mm,
dried fig or some raisins. Um, and yeah, whatever nice sugar that you have around. And a little bit of molasses if you're using white sugar. If you're using jaggery,
okay.
you don't need to do that, but you can add a little bit of molasses if you want. Like the symbiotic colony of yeast and bacteria something to digest. Because the sugar that you put in there isn't for you. It's for the Scooby.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
for the bacteria. You're feeding that and it's converting that into like this whole plethora of enzymes for you. So, yeah, and then you can
So
use that as a starter for your other stuff. So when I was doing like I don't know, all of my ferments are very seasonal because I'm just taking advantage of what's coming through my kitchen already and what's available out there. So 2 years ago, these plums were really prolific here. The
mm,
from the hill tribes, it was like a kind of a bit of an anomaly, and so I scooped up a bunch of them, and I have them still fermenting in the jar that I haven't batched off yet. Uh, so you can have like, you know, your special zone. Uh, yeah, once you start fermenting and get hooked on it, it's like a crazy train ride, you know. Like, wow, it can there's like jars everywhere and
I could totally see
do
that. Yeah.
not touch this. So ask questions before you go into this part of the kitchen.
For sure. No, that sounds really, really awesome. And I want to
Yeah.
kind of get started on it because it's 3 months to
Yeah, and get on a
get it
routine.
to
I
that
mean, you
point.
can batch it off sooner than that. You can do faster ferments. Um,
Okay.
it's just more powerful the longer you let it run. And as I say, 3 months is sort of a magical number. And then you
Yeah.
can use that on this is also great to be used like Zen cleanse when you're doing a detox. Just consume that and your plasma if you're doing plasma, but you could fast on it really.
Yes.
And that
Okay.
would definitely be a huge flush. I mean, you're definitely gonna having some kind of experience.
Yeah. Okay. Purge
But
some
I
stuff
like,
out of you, kind of thing.
yeah.
Hmm. And I guess this would be considered a living food, right? It's not. It's
Oh,
alive.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really amazing actually fermentation. It's like it's like the cycle of life, like death and rebirth in your
All happening in
jar.
this little jar. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
totally.
before I knew about recapitulation, I was doing recapitulation with my ferments. So I was doing so much fermenting, and I would pull up a bottle that I was about to filter, and I would notice the date on it. And then I would go, because I knew, like, I was the one packing the jar. I'm like, oh, this is the tea from there, and this is the those oranges when they were in season, 2 months ago, and they aren't now. And so it takes you back to that time. And then I was noticing how much is changed in the jar contents and how much I have changed.
Hmm.
And then I started using that as like, okay, let's take this feeling and this emotion that I have towards someone or something and put it in the jar with the ferment. And pineapple skin, and I was working with a lot of pineapple skin and orange peel for quite a while. And those two are really like on your hands and on your skin. Your body really reacts to them. And then when the ferment is finished, it's like this beautiful aroma, and it's super soft, and you can actually use it. I would use like the paste, I would call it, like the sediment from the bottom of some of these ferments as like a toner, like a facial. I would do a facial with that stuff. And so you go from this thing that like irritates you to this thing that nourishes you and softens and brightens. And so I would take that emotional trauma, put it in the jar with the pineapple skin that was irritating me. And then by the end of 3 months, it was like I was healing myself with the same thing that was
Once was unpleasant or
right.
irritating.
Right. Yeah. So I was calling it like fermenting grief into matter. And yeah. And then I discovered Carlos Castaneda in this recapitulation, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I've actually been doing with my jars of ferment in a way, right? In a way.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of, yeah, the food or what you're
The
physically
same
intaking.
principle, right? Like
It
you're,
took you to something in the mental realm that kind of like matched it, or the
yeah,
texts. That's yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it was super wild. And it's all been like that, like this big, like a union, like a unity. It's like this, the plasma too, the plasma therapy. And then now I'm into the facial reflexology. So it brought back that old work. There's all this old work that I did and then kind of didn't forget, but like put aside, because then I discovered something else, and you only have so much time in a day to do all these things. But now it's like, okay, pooling them all together and finding a unity between them to get them all into flow with each other. And that's what the facial reflexology is, another huge piece of the puzzle that just kind of fell into my lap. I've been doing
I haven't
face
heard of it.
Okay, I've been doing face yoga, they call it, is sort of like
Huh.
what it's marketed as, to the masses. But basically, this is facial reflexology that they're tapping into. And, a lot of this is, a lot of ancient Chinese medicine and acupuncture point. Most of our receptors culminate in our face, which totally makes sense. Like, look what we can do with our face. And we
Yeah.
can read each other just from facial expressions. And
And
I
a lot
mean,
of our sensory input and stuff, like,
all of it, eating, breathing, seeing, hearing, kissing, like even the sexuality part of it is,
communication, body
yeah,
language through the face,
yeah.
right, right.
When you're born, the first thing you do is like see out your eyes, and then what you look for is another face, even though you don't know what that it's like this intuition that you're born with, is this facial recognition thing. Like you need to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of bonding. So there's so much to the face. And when I was, it was like another thing that came about naturally, like another realization that came about naturally, because I started doing face yoga like 5 years ago, and I would do it mostly before I did a workshop. Like that was sort of like one of my rituals. Before I did a workshop, I would do like a face yoga thing, because you really see a difference, like before and after, and you feel it. It really energizes your face and your lymphatic system, drainage. There's like these points here in between
Yeah.
your
Right.
eyes. You know them naturally. Yeah, right there where you were just pushing at the base
Yeah.
of your nose. And then
Yeah.
they're different on everyone's face. You have to find them for yourself. There's some under your eye. There's a lot around your eyes. The best thing to do is get
There's
a
some right here.
yeah, and then your
Yeah.
temples, of course, and by your ears, in behind your ears, down your
Oh, right.
neck here. You can actually,
Uh,
and like,
trippy.
yeah, and then yeah, a big one behind your ears, and the tensegrity one. Like there's a spot in your jaw here, and I love that. Connecting to the
Yeah.
temples and just pushing there.
And do you find your
I
hands sort of line up to those spots? Like you
Yeah,
take your hand just like this, and it's like scaled to
yeah,
where that. Mhm.
we are one big, huge, giant walking fractal.
Totally. A human fractal,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the face is one too. Your feet are one too, and your ears are
I know. I've
one
heard the
too.
ears and the
Yeah,
acupuncture and the ears, and yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. So I was thinking of doing a workshop of like facial reflexology and a lot of emotion. So a lot of that's what I when you do face yoga and you start to really, or facial reflexology, you have to deal with, you don't have to, but you may find that in this massage, facial reflexology is really like a self-soothing technique, so you can calm yourself down and ground yourself with this. And when you hit spots, it's just like getting some people, when they get a back massage, even along the spine, they'll hit a spot where like where a lot of tension is put, and that's usually where some emotional trauma is. So you can, and people have releases, right? Like sometimes people go to get a massage and they have like a huge emotional release.
I've heard. Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that can happen even more so really with the face, because it's this intense energy,
So much
emotion.
involvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then you
So I don't
really
know
start
if
to see like, okay, these lines here and this sagging, the energy is an emotional energy that's pulling that person down. You don't need a Botox injection. You need like, you need to do the work.
support and the self care and the
Yeah.
kind of
And
thing.
keep that tone. It's all about toning, um, vibrational alignment, if you will.
Yeah. Even
Right.
the technique of forcing yourself to smile or putting a smile on your face
Yeah.
will start to tune you to a better mood,
Yeah.
muscle.
It's muscle memory, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
there's other things you can do too to remember to get that back into you, like by putting a chopstick in your mouth.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And it kind of makes you smile.
Nice. And I saw a thing a few months ago. It was saying these like mini stroke things can happen, and a lot of people have not symmetrical faces, one side, and mine has this to a degree. This side gets a little more tired or laxed. I notice it in the eyes. So
Mm-hmm.
I would sit in front of the mirror and I was really try to breathe and sort of even out the way my
Yeah.
eyes are open. Yeah, not emphasize it, but just, and I noticed that it's like this side of my face, the muscles are a little weaker, or like they don't get as much attention or breath going through them as the
Mm.
this side. So I've noticed that, and I felt like I don't know if that would be considered face yoga, but I've definitely tried to breathe and open up and sort of even out the way it
Yeah,
is I'm seeing it.
you're basically doing it's like really more than face yoga. Like the really face yoga is just like a really good marketing term to call it that, but it's really you're doing facial acupressure.
Okay. Yeah.
Anytime you touch your face, it's hard to not hit one. You're gonna inevitably hit one of those spots. It's just now you can come at it with more intent and intention, and that's actually what you were doing. So you were coming at it with this intent, with the intention. So that's totally what facial reflexology is, tuning into your own body and its needs and going through the discovery process of yourself.
Yes. It makes you
Yeah.
wonder too when people just subconsciously touch a part of their face or hair or something like that. Maybe there's something more going on than just some subconscious random movement, you know?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, maybe that's their body trying to bring attention to something, and
Yeah,
I can see that. Mhm.
totally.
So those
So,
sound like, yeah, two really good workshops right there, the fermenting and the facial
yeah, I've been talking about it
reflexology.
for a while, so we'll see. But I would even online would be cool, but I am craving the in-person exchange.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's a little bit complicated here in a way. Anyway, I'm sure I can find a workaround.
Yeah.
So
Put the intention out there, then maybe. Well, you two are going around looking at bars, trying to find people. So I'm sure you'll run
it's
into
a very
someone.
small
There's got to
town.
be.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
very small town. It's really hard to describe how small this town is, even though
Hmm.
there's an international airport here. Um,
Oh wow, that's trippy. That's trippy. Uh,
what could I describe it? Um, like one of those through towns that you get on the interstate.
mhm.
It's like about that size.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the downtown strip is about 6 blocks long, and then that's it. You've kind of seen it all in about on a bicycle in about 15 minutes. You can have this town cased out.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
sounds cool though.
yeah, it really is the thing about this place that it's the children, actually, because it reminds me so much. I get this feeling in my body when I see the kids play of myself as a little girl growing up in Unity, Saskatchewan, which was another super, like, I had that place cased out in 5 minutes on my bicycle. Could
Huh.
go all the way around it. So everyone knew everyone. And, you know, uh, everybody walked home from school on their own, and there wasn't like this um I don't know, it's just so different when you're in the city, and you don't see kids playing in the street in big cities. I mean, they, not that they don't, it's just you don't really, unless you go to the suburbs. But it's like I don't know, it's just different. The kids are so independent and free-willed and just playful and um around, like without their parents, around, walking around, climbing up
Yeah,
coconut trees, and having having baths in huge barrels of water on their front step right by the road, like
Yeah, yeah.
on hot days, just get naked and jump in the water and go swimming in their underwear in the river. And so it's like a really unique vibe here because of that. I was riding my bike down the dirt road here a few weeks ago now, and this young girl like switched direction and came running to catch up to me. And then she reached out her hand. So I reached out my hand to, towards her. And then she grabbed onto my hand and was like jogging beside me while I was riding my bike down the road.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
we don't even speak the same language, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
Huh.
she let go of my hand and she said, "Thank you." And then turned around and went to catch up to her friend. It was
That's
the wildest
precious.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the bicycle, like, it makes such a big difference here because we're not on scooters. So we're actually approachable by the kids. We do a lot of high fiving with the kids walking to school and stuff like that. They don't know us. They just see this
Yeah.
opportunity to have actual contact and they just go for it. It's totally
There's
wild.
nothing like second guessing themselves. They just see that and they want to engage with it, and they just
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
That's trippy. I mean,
opportunity is there, so they capture it.
huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we have these little like the bells that we have on our bike really are like useless for anything except for to let pedestrians know that you're around. They're
Yeah.
it's just a little brass bell, so it gives off a nice sound. And so
Yeah.
sometimes when we go by the kids, we just ring it to wave to them, to say hi to them. And yeah, we have like a whole relationship with the kids around here that is pretty unique. I think the parents even don't have a clue mostly about it.
I
But
mean,
the
you guys are
adults
probably the
see
only.
us riding our bikes, like, coming to and from town, picking stuff up, picking our groceries up, coming home, like sometimes twice a day and at least 3 times a week, you know, going up the hill, coming back down again. It's like not a lot of people do that here. A lot of people just have scooters.
Okay. Oh
Or
yeah,
they'll,
yeah. And you
yeah.
and I'm guessing, just guessing, but you and Lee are probably the only Canadians in the area.
Yeah, there is like a lot of foreigners in business here
Okay.
that have little businesses here. Uh, there is like an expat community for sure. Um, yeah, but we're not really part of that genre, kinda. We pretty much keep to ourselves, other than like the interaction with the kids is the most,
Yeah.
and the ladies at the market, the ladies at the organic market. We really try to engage with them, and we're repeat customers, so we go back to the same fruit stall, and we like to have the relationship, um, a relationship like that, like where you're a regular customer to someone, and build that friendship that way.
I like that. I do the farmers markets here in California, and I get a lot of that with the return customers, and then
Yeah.
I myself will try to go to the stalls that I've already had experience with, or they tell me a little bit about the way they're bringing up the food and where it comes
Mm,
from and that kind of thing. And yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it just sort of circulates.
And then engaging with them is really it's nice for them to get like that positive. Farming is not easy. So to have someone approach you with like some enthusiasm, like, "Oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful lettuce," and just give
It
that
means,
energy back.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's really nice for them to receive that kind of um, attention, or whatever you want to call it, vibe.
yeah, yeah. I think so, because then if they're out there toiling away farming, hours, but then they'll think of that kind of thing, like, oh, I know that
Yeah.
these people really like our stuff. This is a good thing. It's helping someone else. They like it.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
usually try to like share some of what I know too, like especially about something, the really powerful things like the moringa that grows really easily here that they sell at the market. And so
Nice.
when I buy it, I'm like, I talk about what I'm doing
I finally
with
got a
it.
hold of some of that.
Oh,
It
cool.
was a tincture, like alcohol based
Oh,
tincture. I was just putting it under my tongue, but
hmm.
then I ran out the other day, and I'm like, I kind of miss it. I don't know if I was noticing anything from it, but I
Yeah.
don't
Well,
know.
everything does something, whether you feel it or not is another subject, but it's happening. Your body knows.
Yeah.
And yeah, a quick investigation into the potency of moringa leaf will show you that. I mean, unless it's not authentic, what's in the bottle.
Right, right. That's hard to
Um, but
say in my case. But you can get it as like a powder, right?
yeah,
Like
it's
the
super
leaves ground
powerful.
down.
Yeah, so this is the other thing that I do. Like, I'll take advantage when I see like something like that fresh. Parsley is another one I do this with. If I see at the farmer's market, if I see a nice big huge bundle of parsley, I'll buy the whole, like I'll buy a kilo of fresh parsley, and then I'll come home
Yeah.
and dry it. Like, because I don't. There's a lot of things like that don't aren't. This is very small farming community here, so they don't have everything all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And moringa leaf, when it's in season, although I have a lot of trees myself, I still buy and I powder and then I use that daily. The chickens get that in their feed, actually.
Okay.
Put a little bit of moringa powder in their chicken feed. They get it every day. And I try and put a teaspoonful in my plasma. So this is where I use my plasma with my herbs. If I'm not brewing it as a ferment, moringa is sort of a good example of this because there's actually still something in the leaf itself. So it's kind of a waste if you use moringa leaf and just brew it as a tea and discard the solid matter, because there's actually still uh, nutrients that aren't water soluble that are still in the leaf.
Okay.
So in the morning, I'll take my uh, a small cup of my plasma, and then I'll put my moringa leaf in there and some cayenne because they grow that here locally, the chili powder. I'll put a
Yeah.
spoonful of that in, and sometimes I'll add some ginger. Just depends on what's going on, but usually the moringa leaf and the cayenne. I'll do a little spin up of that and just take it like a shot.
Yeah.
And the moringa leaf is powerful, so you have to kind of be careful. I've overdone it in a few dishes where it's like too much.
And what kind of reaction is it give you on this?
Well, you'll have an elimination.
Okay.
It's a good colon cleanser.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and the taste can get overpowering. If used properly, you really don't even, it kind of takes on the flavor of the dish. It doesn't impart a big impact, but if you go too crazy with it tastes like horseradish. Actually, the flavor is like horseradish.
Okay. Huh.
They call it the horseradish tree. Is another common name for it.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So that tree gets used a lot in our life here. I can't imagine not having that. The oil from the seed is what I've been using on my skin for the last 8-9 years. So the only
Wow.
thing
Yeah.
I've been putting on my skin besides plasma is moringa oil. And
Nice.
yeah, and I've been sharing that with people pretty much ever since, because I have an experience with that. I had a wart inside my nose since I was a child, since I was a very young child. And we were in northern Laos, and it was like this super humid and hot, and so much forest around, so much jungle around. It's like this intense humidity of, and all of this organic matter, like what you're saying, like pollen and so much stuff in the air felt so heavy, and the wart
Oh,
up inside my nose like suddenly like exploded. And
wow.
I'm sure it was diet related, actually, now in hindsight, because the way I was eating then and the way I'm eating now is pretty different. But I was freaking out. I'm like, okay, am I going to have to go into a hospital and have this like cut out? I didn't know I wasn't doing plasma. I wasn't um, into astrology. I didn't yet even know about enzyme. Um, None of the ferments was really part of my life at this point. Super different time. Anyway, and I got back to Thailand and went into this Buddhist medicine shop, and something drew me over to this bottle of moringa oil. It was pure intuition.
Wow.
And I started putting a few drops on a cotton ball and just putting it inside my nose. And in less than a week, it was gone.
Just a whole
The
wart.
whole thing was gone. And my nose felt totally different to me without this thing growing inside there since I was like my earliest memory. Like I want to say 3.
Wow. What did it do? Did it just reabsorb, just faded away?
Yeah, it would like, kind of, it never really got big, and I would constantly be kind of tearing away at it, right? Like there we had one of those video cameras with like the tape. And
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
so when I was little, there is not very much film footage of me, but the film footage that they have, I'm picking my nose. It looks like
Picking
I'm
at it.
picking my nose, but I'm picking at this thing in my nose. I'm not picking my
Yeah,
nose. So
yeah, yeah.
crazy. And it
Wow.
was like this, it was so nuts, the experience to not have this thing, to feel my nose like clear was blew my mind that this little bottle of moringa oil in less than a week accomplished this.
No, that's amazing.
And then I just started
Huh.
researching it like a mad woman and started growing it. And I had like a, 8x9 guest house that we were staying in, and I had 98 moringa trees growing in paper coffee cups. Like I just went crazy with it. But
Nice.
yeah, helped a lot of people along the way. This one woman, her son had warts from his waist down,
Mm.
all on his thighs and legs and calves. And I told her, every time you get out of the tub, just put a few drops in your hand. And while the skin is still moist, don't have it totally dry, while the skin is still moist, just stroke down his legs with a bit of moringa oil. And in less than a month, they were all gone. All gone.
Wow.
And like more stories
Pretty.
than that. My friend, actually, that I just talked to yesterday, Angela, she had a growth on her nose, and she had been to countless high-end dermatologists in Singapore and elsewhere, and no one could help her. And that little bottle of moringa oil, boom, gone. Crazy.
Wow. So,
Which was a
what do you think it
huge
is?
deal
Just
for her. You have this thing growing on the end of your nose, like, your face.
what do you think it is? Just enzymes in it, able to help the body
So
move.
what is unique to moringa oil is this thing called zeaxanthin. This is what makes moringa oil unique. There's more zeaxanthin in moringa oil than any other. Moringa oil is actually the most nutrient dense oil that we know of. So it's like a superfood. You can take it orally if you want, but the zeaxanthin is what your skin cells need to divide when they're super young.
Oh,
So when your skin cells have enough zeaxanthin, they separate. So the younger the skin cell makes its division, the younger your skin is. It like doesn't matter how old you are. Your skin cells, when they get that, then so the other thing I noticed was like the fine lines in my face were fading away, and all this other stuff was happening with my complexion. And then now adding that with, and my mom had skin tags that were falling off
Mm-hmm.
with continuous use of the moringa oil and all kinds of other skin. That's what's happening. That's why the wart goes away, because the cells are dividing when they're younger. So your body's producing all of this new, fresh baby skin, kind of in a way, and so there's
Wow.
nothing there to support the wart anymore.
Oh,
It
that's
just
so true. That's wow.
it's
That's amazing.
sloughed off. It just your body sloughs it off, basically.
Yeah. I wonder
So
the
it's
mole. I have a
also it's
mole.
all because of that. It also is like a natural exfoliant. So your skin, it can at first it can feel like actually drying, but it takes a while for your skin to like reacclimatize and whatever to the use of moringa oil. I can't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
imagine my life without it. I buy 5 liters at a time. And that's also what I use as a base for my aromatherapy, because moringa oil is a natural preservative. There's like all the vitamin E in moringa oil is very unique also.
Mm.
So it's very stable and has a huge long shelf life. And um, so it binds with, it holds the scent of other oils really well because it's a preservative quality. Very neutral, not a strong odor either, very neutral odor. So in ancient times, this is actually, they found moringa oil in tombs.
Yeah.
They took that with them to the next realm. So that they would put their delicate essential oils in there to keep them, to preserve that smell. And so then I started using it as a base for my aromatherapy and started making my own perfumes and stuff like that, oil-based perfumes.
Yes.
Very,
Okay.
very, very yummy. I love aromatherapy. Super relaxing and soothing, and well, it can be whatever you want it to be, uplifting and, depending on your mood, your aroma.
Yeah.
Because
Frankincense.
sometimes, yeah,
That's what I played with really in the realm of oils and aromatherapy. But
this is a good
very
one to play with.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I mean, there's a whole other world of stuff out there, I'm sure. And now the
Yeah,
moringa.
but yeah, moringa is a base oil, so it can go well with frankincense. And when you buy these other expensive oils, it's a really great way to stretch those other oils out, because really we use more than we need to. Like when you're
Yeah.
using your frankincense, you can blend that down with some moringa oil, and then your frankincense will last like 4 times longer.
Nice. That's good. Because
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you don't need
Um.
to put so
Hmm.
much.
I was having. Well, I was living in Las Vegas. I'm not there right now. I started getting weird stuff with my skin. When I first went out there, it got very, very dry. And
Mm.
then it sort of acclimated to that. But then I got this rash, like on my lower abdomen.
Hmm.
And I started cleaning it with fresh plasma. Then I
Mm-hmm.
was doing this like DMSO iodine thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it broke out, spread everywhere. It actually got worse from that. I'm like, okay, well, I guess it broke it up, but it's not going away. And then I was just doing plasma on it for a while, really nothing. And then what finally actually cleared it up was apple cider vinegar, which now
Mm.
you've explained that it's not actually apple cider vinegar, but it had the culture in there, and
Yeah.
that actually got rid of it. And then I started noticing my leg has all these like pocks all over it, almost like ingrown hairs. And I'm like,
Oh,
I'm wondering, give the moringa oil a try, maybe just help the skin divide
yeah.
faster and maybe clean itself out, because it feels like my body's trying to push something out. Not
Our
really sure
bodies
what
are
started off,
always
but
trying to push something out.
right, right, right. Of course,
Like,
yes.
that's the name of the game, right? Homeostasis. The body's like,
Oh yeah,
"Please."
yeah, yeah. Especially now when it's constantly taking in toxins and stuff, and
Yeah, and the
it
vibe
is.
around us has changed a lot too these last 3 years with the Internet of Things and all of that. There's just more of it around, it feels like.
Yeah.
I really feel the towers more,
Do you have
like,
them out there too?
a bit, but it's pretty like this place is a little when you come here, you're like, "Is it the '70s? Don't they know?"
Because it just probably feels quieter too.
Yeah. There's just not the
Yeah.
population here, and like, the density is this is one of the least densely populated places on the planet, like, we're up there in the top 10, I think it is, and there's so much, greenery around. This place is green. I mean, the dry season, it gets brown, but there's, like, a lot of forest, around, so that really helps a lot with all those kinds of things. It's not like when you can imagine vibration, so you imagine your tower and the wave coming off that, and then it's hitting buildings. So it's hitting all these sharp angles, and it's bouncing off of those at a sharp angle. But when it hits a tree, there's like all these leaves and the tree is moving, and
Yeah.
it's like
It's not as hard as
camouflage.
impact. It's sort of
It's like
like, yeah.
camouflage. This is what the work with Oregon Energy, William
Mm.
Reich, and that's what basically why the quiet room that he built to the Oregon accumulator to build your chi basically inside this dark box. Uh, it's like wearing the tinfoil hat, right? Like, so you have the metal on the outside, and then the in between layer there is wool, hair,
Oh,
and
yeah.
r- these are like,
High frequency.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then you're inside of it, sort of
You're inside of the room, it's like they built
perpetuating your
them
own energy, kind
right,
of thing.
right.
Yes.
So yeah, that's why it's good to have plants around and stuff like that, and soft edges, and yeah.
Hmm.
So, and even if you're a minimalist, instead of having a bare wall, to hang a tapestry, a rug,
Yeah.
hang a
Yeah.
rug
Yeah.
on the wall. It's
Yep.
beautiful energy in these rugs. My gosh.
Hmm.
There's a new shop in town that is selling from cashmere, like selling silk hand knotted rugs. They just opened about a month ago, and I finally went in there last night to talk to the guy. I'm like, "Can I touch it?" These
Nice.
like silk rugs, and I asked him if he could show me his favorite rug. And he took me into the back and rolled out this beautiful cashmere, 100% silk, crazy thread count, like 1,200 something per square inch thread count silk rug, 100% silk rug. And every angle that you looked at it from was the color would change, the tint would change, and the color
Oh,
would. It was amazing.
that's beautiful. I can just imagine.
6,000 USD. I actually think that's pretty cheap considering.
For what
Like,
it
you would
is, yeah.
probably pay way more for that in New York or somewhere like that. But anyway, it was
Yeah.
gorgeous. I feel like going back there and saying, if you ever need someone to like watch the shop for you,
Yeah,
I can
just be
come
back
cover
there.
for you
That's it.
for because
Yeah.
yeah, it would be fun to
Did you touch it?
yeah, yes, he let me. Yeah, I had
Mm.
full access. And he showed me a few more of the pashmina, the scarves and stuff like that. And I discovered this new way of weaving actually while I was there. They do it there's one method that they do it on the loom, but instead of sliding the shuttle through horizontally. It's the whole thing is like one at a time. It's crazy when you flip it over and look at the back. It's totally different. It doesn't look the same as. I'm gonna have to go back and get a few pictures and do a little story about it because it's just totally fascinating. I have this.
That's a shop right in town.
Yeah, I have this huge weakness for textiles, and so I know I'm gonna have to go back in there again and talk to him. Even though I can't really afford anything in his shop right now. It's just like the appreciation for the craftsmanship. These are like art shops, you know, they're like galleries. They're not really I don't see them as retail shops. It's more like an art gallery.
Yeah. Gosh, hearing things like that makes me just want
the house next door is for rent.
Yeah. Cool. What's rent over there?
Actually, that was interesting that you say that, because that is why the man moved to shop. He was in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh, and they also had a location in Siem Reap in Cambodia. But since the Great Lockdown, to start things back up again was really costly, and they save so much money by just relocating the whole idea to here. So his rent is like downtown, like central downtown shop. Nice big shop. I wouldn't want to guess how many square feet. Over 100 square feet. Easily, probably 150. And he's paying like 1,200 a month. Right downtown, Luang Prabang.
Yeah. 1,200 USD.
Yeah.
Equivalent.
And for something like a few kilometers out of town for like living, for example, I'll just tell you what we pay in this little farmhouse. We don't really. I mean, I feel lucky. We're in a complex, so we're one building in a gated property.
Okay.
So the house next door is on the same property. There's 4 buildings here. One that the caretaker stays in. There's another small building for the gardener to stay in, and then there's 3 houses that are rented out to whoever monthly. And then so we share a gate, and there's a camera there. So it kind of comes with security. That's actually one of the reasons why I really like it here, because I'm not just by myself and in a house with a gate. There's like someone here all the time.
Yeah.
And we don't have any hot water, and the power is included, but we don't really like the power here is interesting. It's like they generate and they sell a lot of power from here, but it's like the people that live here, it's like, okay, here's your extension cord. And it's like you get the surges in the power, and then the fan goes faster, and then it comes down again. So anyway, we're working on a little bit of a workaround with that, with some power banks, so that the electronics, like computers and that, can have a steady stream and not have all this for the battery life of your laptop and stuff like that, and charging phones.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's some things about this place that are funky, but we have a little farmhouse, just one room studio farmhouse, and we pay 200 USD a month.
That's wonderful.
Power, water included, well water, power
Yeah.
included. Yeah, and actually our landlady includes this fiber internet.
People pay almost that much
for the internet.
Yeah.
And phone internet here, data is cheap. Like we were running off our phone for a long time, like our own data. But the fiber is crazy. That's the thing. This place is wired. Like fiber just arrived here, like boom, and they lit up the whole town with fiber.
I remember, when you guys were telling me that, and I'm just, wouldn't have expected that, but yeah.
And the area that we're in here is really a nice area. We have the 5-star golf course just right out the window this direction, and this way is another 5-star resort, the Pullman. The
Okay.
Grand Hotel is there, the Pullman is there. So it's kind of like feels like a little bit like, the Beverly Hills of Luangprabang.
Cool. Yeah. I guess those are
Yeah.
there with the airport and stuff, right? The
The
international airport.
Yeah, and the airport is on the other side of the Namkan River, so we're actually on the flight path. Comes right over top of us here to land, but
Huh.
it's a ways away, so it's not like so
Not like
out of
right over you, like
right, and it's
roaring
not
check.
that busy here, really.
Hmm. Hmm. Have you guys traveled out of there since the
The
big
Great
lockdown thing?
Lockdown?
Yeah. Hmm.
No, crazy. It's just
Hmm.
crazy. To say no, because normally I would have been going back and forth to Georgetown, and yeah, we've done a lot of traveling around this area, and like this is really where we wanted to settle. So we were happy like to be here during lockdown because this is really where we want to be.
Yeah.
And it's relatively easy to be here. Like to do the whole visa thing is actually relatively easy. We really lucked out with the guy
Okay.
that we got connected with from the very beginning. It's really made the process super simple. So
That's nice.
it's actually like really affordable to
Yeah. Yeah.
be here, and they don't require you to have proof of all this stuff to be here. You just have to
Oh,
be able to pay all of those things, and you
good.
don't have
Good
to
to go.
show anybody your bank account or stuff like that. You don't have to
Okay.
share any of that personal stuff.
So I know, like in Thailand, it's hard to get a visa unless you're a student or
Yeah, it's
there
expensive.
for
Then you have to
specific
pay. You're
reasons.
paying for your visa through your course, and hopefully you want to take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of options. And we did that I lived in Thailand for a year.
Okay.
And
And
it's
did
a
a
nice place, but it's not, it's funny, I was reluctant to come to Laos because it was too off the radar. And I was like worried about traveling here. And then when we did, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, my body just felt at ease here.
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
You really feel the space between you and the other people. And there's this really
Huh.
friendliness and authenticity. Like if you overpay, they'll like run down the street to give you your, 10 cents basically.
Yeah.
And they're
Wow.
like, no, 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 you can keep that. um, but they're
That's
really
great.
honest here. They're really honest here. And I think it's because like that small community, and you don't want to get that name for yourself.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone knowing everyone and wanting to get along. That's very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
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 So yeah, it was sort of a surprise for me in a way. But yeah. We actually started this trip out in Bali, and I thought I was gonna stay there, but yeah,
Oh.
that was like over 11 years ago now. Bali's weird for me because I didn't feel the food security there. I was like, wow,
Oh.
if the ship doesn't come,
We're gonna starve.
it's not gonna be long. Not starve, but chaos.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right.
And
Hmm.
like now, my attitude towards that is, I mean, not changed, but when you say starve, I mean, maybe part of that was there at that time, but it was more worried about the chaos, like how violence can ensue.
Hmm. Hmm.
But now, like with the plasma, that whole thing of starvation is totally erased out of my spectrum. I have no fear of starving to death. It's like
Am I still here with you? My thing
Yep.
cut out for a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I know I need to get a space that I can. Now I want to do this fermenting thing. So.
Well, the only space you need to start with is a jar. And
Cool.
actually, I started with empty milk containers because I was
Oh,
fermenting, doing my kefir, my milk kefir at the time. And so I would just use whatever empty. These aren't enzyme production is sealed, is a sealed ferment. It's not an open air. It's a anaerobic. So
oh.
I'll share a little bit in the chat in Matrix about it
Yeah.
in the in what room? Anyway, you'll see it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just like
I'll
a
I'll do a
basic
little.
supplies list and brief overview or something.
Yeah,
Get
okay.
something going. That'd be
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
something easy. I'll do it in the culture club. Are you in that room?
Okay. Let me double check. I'm not sure on that.
Oh, I don't think you are actually.
I
Okay,
got
I'll have
probiotic
it.
water therapy.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, but I might just get rid of that room and put it all into that other one.
Okay.
Actually, if you go through that room, there's probably a great bunch of info in there. There might even be a link. Anyway, I'll get it sorted out.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of like the one big thing, like the fasting, the enzyme, the plasma, the moringa oil and leaf. Those are sort of like kind of foundational. It's not a lot of, and then
It's
the body massage and the boiled plasma. The everything has like a subject after that. But are you doing boiled
right.
plasma?
I haven't lately. I boiled some down again, all the way down to salts, and I have those salts in a container. I haven't done anything with them recently, but
I've sprinkled that on tofu and it's been
yeah, you
really
can use it as a salt.
yeah. Have you tasted it on its own like that?
Yeah, I've done.
It's like
Yeah, mhm.
mushroom forest. I don't know. It's so
Yeah,
crazy.
mine's it's like woodsy or something, or like.
Yeah.
hmm hmm I've done all
So,
kinds of stuff with it.
but
I put it in my
you put it
put
in
it in
what?
my nose to break up mucus because I had mucus up there,
Oh, good.
and it burns. You just do a little bit because too much will burn pretty bad. But I just put it up in my nose and just kind of let it sit for a few. Blow my nose like 2 minutes later,
Hmm.
just dumps out mucus.
Um, so what we've been doing with the boiled, reducing it down to 1/4 of the volume, and then we just have that in a spray bottle and like it's spraying it up the nose because it's not harsh. It's not as harsh as the aged. When it's boiled,
Okay.
it's a lot gentler going up the nose
Yeah.
like that. Not like the powder you're saying it burned, but when it's just
Yeah.
1/4, it's really gentle actually.
Okay.
And spraying it up the nose and the skin, doing a big thing of that in the skin. So when I do my facial reflexology, I'm now mixing my moringa oil with my boiled plasma and doing my facial reflexology using that. My skin
Oh
loves the
yes.
boiled plasma. Loves
Yeah.
it.
I need to try a reduction one instead of just taking it all the way down. Just do the reduce
Yeah.
because I haven't. You've
Yeah.
you've said this a couple times, and yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like this
Mm,
magical serum for your skin. You're not going to believe it. The
nice.
Damar Tantra book explicitly says in there for skin, you should only use boiled plasma. Interesting.
Okay.
I still use fresh and some aged from time to time if I'm doing like a I use it more as like a deep cleaning where
Mm-hmm.
I'm like massaging it in and then I'll go and rinse off in the shower and then I'll moisturize with my moringa oil and the boiled plasma.
Yes. Use that first, like you just said, to sort of strip off the dirt and everything else. And
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
I had a question on one of my age jars. I'm getting these like white, stringy looking things. And I thought I saw something mention that could be candida overgrowth.
Yeah, um, can be. The, I have a Scooby growing on top of one of mine, and I've had stuff like that also
Okay.
from time to
Yeah.
time. Um,
Did you
yeah,
shy away from it, or?
no, I didn't. Um, but when I'm using, like, I'm pretty picky about what I use, like topical and you froze. Are you still? Oh, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to say it. Do you want to come back in? Okay. So, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought now. Oh, right. Picky with the plasma. Thanks. Yeah, I'm picky with the plasma for topical use or like all my skin, actually, even the enemas. So I would probably use that one in the garden. I don't know. I really pick clear ones for doing my facials and stuff like that because I mean I have so much anyway. I save everything. So I pick the more clear ones for topical and enema and yeah, and I save the other ones. I might make that one actually into a reduction where I'm boiling it down. Hmm. But I'm pretty picky, and I would probably end up giving that one to the garden. Oh, I want you to come back in. Or do you want to exit and come back in, or do you want to wrap it up? I don't know what your timeline is like. Oh, he's gone. So that probably means he's going to come back. I'll give him a minute here. Let me just check on the live.
I caught pretty much all of that.
Yeah, so I'm pretty picky. I usually pick the more clear
Mhm.
ones.
You know, it's
And
funny. Every time I age my stuff, it tends to darken.
oh
Even
yeah.
if it was okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll have jars where
And men
I'll
and
add
women are
to.
different also, right? So
Okay,
we have a totally
yeah,
different hormone makeup in there. So
yeah.
I'm sure that has a factor with color and stuff like that too.
That would
Lee's
make
tend to be
sense.
darker than mine that in the
Yeah,
aging
yeah.
process.
You know,
Yeah.
when I first started all this plasma stuff, the first cup I drank of it was very, very salty, very dark, smelt weird. And I want to say that it just seemed like just by drinking it alone, it started to clear up. And
Definitely.
then I changed my diet up too. I started kind of considering more what I ate, considering I was going to be
Right.
retaking it in. Yeah, yeah. That alone just sort of, yep,
It's
made
like if you
influence.
want to continue doing plasma therapy, you're going to have to clean up your diet. Otherwise, you're going to have a tough time.
Yeah, it's going to be not
But
go
it's
down so well.
amazing how quickly it comes through. Like within 2 hours, you're you're consuming again what you consumed. And when we go into town and go out to eat at restaurants, I really feel the impact because there's so much condiments and weird salt that they use and God knows what.
Terrible oils.
Yeah,
Oils, I think, is what does it for me. It really gives me problems.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder, when I take that, because I'm like, okay, that this is like the worst it can taste for me. But for other people, that first sip may be very intense if you're just beginning. So it's a good idea to do a little cleanup before you start, and then you'll see your diet as you.
I mean, you'll experience it in a whole
Yeah.
new way. Yeah, yeah. Um,
I think most of the time when we think we're hungry, we're just thirsty.
yeah, yeah. I heard someone mention that. It was a podcast on water in general, and he was saying how so many are just dehydrated.
Yeah.
And I took a few days to just really catch up on my hydration, and then I could tell a difference when I started consuming the plasma a lot more.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm a bit overdue on catching up on my hydration, and I had been really, really consuming my plasma quite a bit. In fact, I did it on a whole drive from Nevada to California. I was just
Wow.
full catches. I don't know. It seemed fine. Then I got on an airplane, 2 different flights, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the body scans or what, but it
Mm.
really threw off my system, and I haven't been back to that point with the plasma since then. But these last few days, I've been trying to get back up to that. Because when I
Yeah.
was drinking it a lot, I was starting to feel like in the waking hours, started to feel like a dream or something like that, more dream-like. And I know it has the DMT
Mm.
is in the plasma, and I think it was starting to really accumulate in my system. It's enough to notice, so I felt like I was kind of like tripping out, but clean. It wasn't
Yeah.
weird, or it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So
When I did that long fast on it, like the 10 days that I did with just
mhm.
plasma and riding my bike into town those days too.
Yeah.
I should revisit some of those daily podcasts I was doing just to kind of have a little refresher on what that felt like. Yeah, it's an intense mind, the psyche, and the dreams. And yeah, it's a little bit like feels like a little bit like an out of body experience. It's definitely when you get on your bike.
I bet.
When I
No,
got
I
on my bike is
remember.
really when I felt it most.
Yeah.
What you're talking
That's
about.
um that's funny. It's that Albert Hoffman thing with the LSD. I guess he didn't know what he made, and then he was riding his bike or something. Next thing you know,
Wow.
he was tripping out on acid. Yeah, so it's like kind of reminds me of the same thing. But no, those podcasts. That's when you're doing that long fast. Those were really interesting to watch. Just even viewing it, you could see the transformation. You were doing them every day, so it was kind of like
Yeah, I want to
I
do
was
it
like, holy shit.
again and do it with in conjunction with the facial reflexology and body massage and the boiled plasmas, because there's like a few other things that I want to integrate back into it. And then the golden tantra, the other part of this, coming back to this tantra work has been really nice to feel that new it again has been a
Mm-hmm.
big part of it. It's basically all energy work, right? And so we're made up of water, so it's like
Yes.
reprogramming the tissue, actually. And then with the enzyme and the water kefir, like this more structured water intake. I don't really drink.
Yes.
We can't get distilled water here. I
Oh,
mean, you can somewhere at some shop somewhere that sells heavy duty batteries, or I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
I haven't
For
found
like
it.
machine. Yeah, yeah.
I haven't found it
Interesting.
yet.
Okay. What
So,
about
and
buying a distiller? Oh, go ahead.
buying anything here is like
I see. Yeah.
buying a good pen, finding blank writing paper. It's like crazy what's not
Wow.
around. I mean,
Yeah.
they make paper here. But like just a plain sketchbook, like that's not too expensive. Standard. Doesn't have to be handmade.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you
There's
can
no
buy really
Amazon
nice
there.
handmade paper here, but yeah, and like good shoes and decent underwear that doesn't fall apart in 6 months. It's hard to find. Some things here are really hard to find. The guy in the shop, he's like, I can't find any decent LED lights.
You don't
Like
want any.
they have LED light bulbs, but there's no like um, you know,
The
the
housing
variety.
for it, the actual like lamp and
Yeah,
stuff like
and
that.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's weird what's not here. There's a lot of raw ingredients here for doing all kinds of stuff. So that making the structured water, there's a spring water here. There's the water company here. There's beautiful natural springs here. So they do, the water doesn't come from far. It's like comes out of the ground. They put it into the big bottles and we get it delivered here. But it's still, um, I don't know how pure or clean it actually is. Water is really tricky. Hey,
It really is, isn't it? Yeah, that's why I just do the distilled. I don't even mess with spring water or anything that they sell in the stores
that's
here. I
what I
just
would be doing,
don't
and
do
so
it anymore.
that's why I do so much of the fermented water.
Yeah, yeah. See,
So
I didn't
that's
even occur to me that that would be a type of structured water.
the water kefir grains, and doing the enzyme production. And so I'm pretty much always drinking something like that. I don't really drink plain water. So
Yeah.
it's fermented, and if I do, it's like I use it as to dilute it. So my enzyme, and then there's also between here and town, the 6 kilometer ride, you will probably pass by 4 or 5 fresh sugarcane press stalls. So I get the
Wow.
fresh pressed sugarcane juice and a lot of fresh coconut here. So you can get a lot of young
Oh,
coconut.
that's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good to hydrate with those things, apparently, from what I
Yeah.
understand.
And then so when I take I take a metal to go bottle with me when I go, and I put the water kefir grains in there. And so
Mhm.
they put the fresh coconut water or the fresh pressed sugarcane juice right on the water kefir grains. Like boom. So
Yeah.
it's not just sitting there. It's and the water kefir grains eat the sugar from the fresh pressed sugarcane juice or in the coconut water, and that
Yes.
fermentation process, you grow all these different crazy enzymes from that. This is like Zen cleanse again.
Okay.
This is what they're going for, right? Is all this enzyme production from all these raw fresh ingredients. So it's like supercharging it. It's already good, and now it's like supercharging it and getting rid of some of the sugar in there because you don't need so much sugar. So that's like a base. So in here I have uh, water kefir, like that I've brewed with ginger and other spices, and then and then I use jaggery for that as the starter, and then I top it up with fermented uh, sugarcane juice, and then sometimes I'll dilute it a bit if it's too powerful, and then I just kind of sip on that all day long.
Yes. And you can just keep adding to the base, right?
Yeah,
Keep
and the
building off the
water
same base.
kefir grains grow,
Yeah.
so I end up eating quite a bit of those, and
Yes.
I'll put them in my salad or with other stuff if I want
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I had a good source. This guy that made water.
Oh, you froze.
Oh,
Oh, you're
oh.
back.
Sorry. I had a good source for water kefir grains for a bit.
Mm,
There's a guy that will sell them online, send them to you, and they're pretty good quality. I have
yeah.
never made a fermented drink with them, but I would just eat them. I would just eat them
Oh,
straight up.
yeah. Well, this is just you can grow them just to eat them if you want. All you have to do is put them in a bit of sugar water, and they'll
That's so
multiply.
great. They'll eat the sugar, huh? They'll take the
Yeah.
impact of the sugar and do something good with it.
Yeah, that's the kind of the catalyst for even if you just drank that, you're better off with that than bottled water. Take the bottled water, put a packet of white sugar off the table, tear the little bag open at your restaurant, pour it into the water bottle this is what I did when I was traveling. Pour it into the water bottle with your water kefir grains in there and let it ferment, and then you're better off drinking that water than even though you put white sugar in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the
Wow.
grains take it, they make something else with it. They like eat the sugar. That's what they grow
Uh,
from, and then they spit out all of these enzymes that they produce from it.
Yes.
Drop a dried raisin in there. Like, you don't need anything to. I was like doing that from my backpack.
I gotta click over
So,
to that. Yeah, I gotta.
so it'd be easy to do in your little space there, and then take it with you when you go back and forth, and get good at drying them. You know, you can start your own little production of them, like this other guy selling grains.
Could have a farmer's market stall
Oh
selling all these
yeah,
types of fruit.
yeah, and the beverage that you get from it, it's like a probiotic soda,
Yes,
ginger beer.
that's a good idea.
Yummy. Whatever's
Yes.
around that's easy for you to do. I I love chai tea that's spiced
Oh yeah,
like
yeah. Uh-huh.
masala. So I'll do a
Okay.
big brew of that, like anise, fennel, ginger, cinnamon, whatever, a big brew of that. I'll let it cool, and then I'll add my jaggery to it, and then ferment that with my water kefir grains. And you have this like bubbly, effervescent masala flavored drink. Yummy.
That sounds awesome. I have this blue bottle that my brother
Ooh,
got me, and
nice.
I'll put distilled water in it. I got some shungite stones at the bottom. I'll let it sit
Ooh,
in the sun for a few days,
nice. Beautiful.
and I'm hoping it gets a good structure, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'll try. Yeah, yeah. But now that I'm learning about this fermentation thing, I think I want to check it out because I've been trying to switch to living foods and not eat all this dead cooked stuff because it gets
Yeah, and
slows
I
me
think
down.
it's a good it's really a nice one to assist with actually drinking more plasma, because just drinking
Hmm.
straight up plasma days in a row is actually I want to kind of I'm curious about working my way towards this breatharian kind of concept where you're not eating solid foods and it's just
Hmm.
like kind of a liquid diet. And I think this enzyme is like kind of a big part of that.
I
Because
could
I
see
don't
it
know
being
about the whole
possible.
idea of just plasma for me personally. I don't know if
Right,
my
same, same.
body would really like that. And to uh, nowadays to supplement with water is not really. We don't live in the same time as our ancestors. So there's a lot more toxicity around now than there was.
An absurd amount, and the body needs energy to constantly push that out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's more like having a diet that gives you the energy and supports that detox, that continuous detox, but still
Hmm.
kind of feeding you in a way. The one thing, adding the moringa when I when I quit just doing plasma only and I went to the jaggery and sugarcane juice, coconut water, and moringa brews. I did the moringa tea. I wasn't actually eating the solid leaf part then. I was just drinking the tea. And that helped a lot. Could really feel a big difference then. And I think this is where these herbs and these medicinal plants really you feel their impact more. Like you were saying, you don't know if you felt it, but if you were fasting on just plasma
Yeah,
and then you went and introduced like a moringa tea, I think, or your tincture, I think that that's where you would feel it stronger.
yeah, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Cayenne pepper too.
Yeah.
I know that that apparently has a lot of. It's like a superfood also.
Yeah. And this is uh, a superfood for your blood. Cayenne. Cayenne is
Okay.
this amazing like blood pressure equalizer.
Huh.
So it really evens out the blood pressure in your whole body, and a natural blood thinner. So everything is more like viscous. Everything flows easier. This is why it's so powerful when people are having a stroke or a heart attack or something like that. You can like literally save someone's life by giving them cayenne uh,
Wow.
if you do it right away, like after when that's happening to someone, can save
Yeah,
someone's
yeah.
life
Like at
from
the first
dying of a
sign,
heart
first
attack.
sign of stroke or something. And
Yeah, or heart
yeah.
attack.
Okay.
Like this is few things. There's a few things that are really valuable to have around in your emergency toolkit, and like a cayenne tincture would definitely be one of them, because you can't always like the having it concentrate like that to drop it, like you were saying, under the tongue, because you're not always dealing with someone who can consume something in an
Yeah.
emergency situation.
If it's a viable route, if that tincture actually works, which I'm sure it probably
Mm.
does.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. We got all
believe
kinds of
it.
vessels and stuff under the tongue, I guess.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get you into that facial reflexology book, and you're gonna be like, eh.
Yeah.
This
Nice.
is our skin is like this huge organ, and like that's a route to your blood. I mean, you think of
Yeah.
the nicotine patch that
Mm-hmm.
people will wear to stop smoking. Like, you're getting that
Freaky.
into the bloodstream.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
happening. That's real.
For sure.
So
Hmm.
yeah, putting a few drops of something like that under your tongue, very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about that I love about all of these, a lot of these things, is that the risk reward is really in your favor. The risk is like of it going wrong is really low.
Yeah.
And the risk of it being a reward is extremely high. So it's super safe.
It's a good
It's like
bet to
plasma,
make.
right? Like,
Yeah.
where is all the bodies, from plasma therapy?
Yeah.
The people that really do plasma therapy as like a lifestyle, they're not ill.
They're not going to the hospital and the doctor's saying, well, the crazy person thought they could drink their pee and now look at them. That it doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Otherwise, we'd hear all about it.
Mhm.
We'd hear all
Try do
about it.
that with
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Oh, yeah. No,
I think someone
that
did
stuff's
a
so horrible.
I think someone did a documentary on that, living off of
Mm-hmm,
fast
hmm.
food.
Super Size Me. That's like a horror movie. I'm not even kidding. By like the end, it's like, dude, this is fucked up. He can't even eat it. That's like the last week he can't even eat it. His body's telling him no.
I was
Pretty bad.
surprised how quickly it happened too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be so
Fast.
surprised now, but back then, so much has changed in the last
Right.
year for me because of the plasma. That
Yeah.
realization, over a year now, that it just like
Mm.
blew my mind, and the experience I had
Mhm.
from it. So yeah, now looking back, I should rewatch that, maybe on double speed. But I couldn't imagine. Could you imagine one day of eating like that now, with my body the way it feels to me now?
No,
I don't know. I don't know what would happen. It would not be good.
I would feel, yeah, I would be sick. I would be
Yeah.
sick for, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I don't
I
even really
stopped eating
consider
it.
it food. It's
No, no, no.
something else.
I heard a weird thing. It was, if I haven't eaten it for like 10 years, like a decade, fast food, because I heard a weird thing about there probably being like fetus materials and ingredients
Mm,
in the food, or just straight up human stuff. So like,
yeah.
for some
Isn't there a
reason, I just kind
movie
of
about
believed it,
that?
and I never ate there again.
Solvent Green?
Soylent, Soylent,
Soylent
Soylent
Green.
Green. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's in Cloud Atlas. Cloud
Oh,
Atlas has it in there. The milk, the soap, sorry, the
hmm.
soap that they drank, the little the boxes of
Oh
soap
God,
that they drank, that's the
I
same.
see.
That's they're
It's
consuming
people.
themselves. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, they tell a lot of truth in these, is hidden in these movies.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it allows them, I suppose, I guess I've heard, allows them to get away with it because they've put it out there. You've
Yeah.
watched it and viewed it, so now you know.
Yeah. And the Carlos
Twisted.
Castaneda is another sort of another one of those truth,
Yeah, yeah.
sharing your, yeah. And it's interesting, this book that I'm reading on the facial reflexology, the guy that wrote it has read all of Carlos Castaneda's work. So I
Okay.
was I didn't know that. It was like another one of those intuitive finds. And once I started reading it, I was like, wow, this guy is on my vibe. And then I was like, oh, there we go. Carlos Castaneda was a huge influence for him, and a bunch of other names that he drops in there that I've also read, like Gabor Mate for the trauma
Okay.
work and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of uh, the book is awesome. It's kind of like, I feel like already, I've not finished it yet, but I feel like already it's like one of those must read, like super, it's going to be on my list of like one of the books to, it's just a lot of great information.
Okay. Good stuff. So I think we're like an hour and a half,
Yeah.
2 hours.
Awesome little
Yeah,
chat.
totally. Very informative. It's given me some inspiration to get back into my well-being. To be
Yeah. And it
yeah,
gives me some inspiration to share more.
good. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And to do like, I'll do some more stuff in the private matrix rooms for the enzyme and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe a good starting point for the fermentation and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
I
interested in
already
checking that
have a
out
lot
soon.
of stuff made because I actually have done
Okay.
workshops in the past when I was in Georgetown. I did a lot of workshops, and Georgetown was like my uh I have a little community still there of you know, people I connect with.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
So some of the people that have taken my workshops have like booming fermenting businesses happening there actually.
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you a little bit of info on that. Might help you with some ideas
Yes,
for just
yes.
starting something up of your own.
Yeah, no, it goes good. I'm serious. Let's start up a little farmer's market stall.
Do it. You could do it in a month. You could be roaring.
People would love that over here.
The water enzyme and the probiotic water, however you want to label it, so many different ways. Zen Cleanse is super popular. So if you
Okay.
go check out what they're selling their product for. It's
Yeah, yeah.
not
I'd not even
cheap.
heard of it. Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
wow,
I'd
it's
not
really
even heard of it.
popular
So,
right now in the community.
okay.
A lot of people are really having great results from it, and it's easy to see why. But you can make it
Yeah.
yourself. And a lot of these ferments, one of the hardest things about probably why it's so expensive is because it's really hard to take something alive like that and keep it alive, like shipping and bottling and especially making it into a powder form, which quite a bit of their stuff is in a powder form. Because as you can imagine, shipping around bottles of liquid is not going to be, that's the other part of the expense too, right? Like shipping liquids.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But then getting into a powder form without destroying it, right? Keeping it
Yeah.
alive still.
Really,
Yeah.
really challenging. Really
I'm looking
challenging.
at some of it right now. They want $250 for looks like
Mm-hmm.
three, four, or five
Yeah.
bottles.
When I
Yeah.
saw that company come out, I had a whole new appreciation for my stock of ferments that I have. I'm like, ooh, this is worth a lot more than I.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
liver and gallbladder cleanse.
Yeah. So just check out the ingredients, and you can even find things yourself that support that, and then do the ferment version of it. And
Hmm.
there you go. Because fermentation really like detoxes the food, so it's more easily for you to assimilate. Plus you have that whole plethora of microbes in there, and the healthy bacteria.
Yeah, yeah. Everything the body really wants and
Fermenting is
needs.
super powerful, even if people just start including sauerkraut, like get a
Oh,
cabbage, even
yeah.
if it's not organic, and good quality salts like
Hmm?
Himalaya, the pink salt, sea salts. Get a nice quality salt. Get a nice quality sugar, like a raw sugar cane, a jaggery, or a raw sugar, and water, and some decent containers to do your ferments in. some nice glass with more open top so you can get in there to get your hand in to clean inside from time to time.
Yeah.
And and you're off and running. I mean, plastic is
Nice.
good too for starting, especially because it's forgiving, because you can have things explode.
Oh,
So
right.
there's some precautions to take here, and so the plastic gives you a good learning curve, um, and give you a good idea of the kind of like you, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially when
yeah.
you're fermenting fruit, like for pineapple skin and orange peel. When you ferment that, whoa! I've had a few volcanoes, and I've had a
Nice.
few plastic. I've had a few plastic containers like split. I have
Yeah.
had these metal containers. The twist on cap is not, the thread is not super long. It's just
Yeah.
like, a quarter turn and it's sealed. And the pressure builds up in that and the cap like blows off.
Oh shit. Okay. Nice. I was gonna say,
So,
or like locks it into place because it's pushing up the lid so hard. You can almost
yeah,
not
but
even get it
where
off.
you are, it's probably really easy to buy some one way, like for that they use for wine brewing, the
Mm,
one way valve, the
mm. Okay.
airlock. So you can even make them, but yeah, you can buy them on Amazon cheap. The wine making one way valve.
Okay. Okay. To let it purge off,
Yeah,
purge the gas off. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and
All right.
it's a water lock. So it's like a little cup of water, and then this tube that comes up so the air can escape, and then you have another cup over top that rests into the water. So nothing can go in and only things can come out. The air, it's like a water airlock.
Okay.
In
Okay.
the winemaking.
Cool.
I'll show a picture of that too, and I'll do a nice little blurb in the room there, and you'll have a good idea. But
All
that's
right.
just a
Cool.
safety thing. I had to mention that one.
No, no. Good call. Yeah. Good call.
All right.
All
Thanks so
right. Well,
much,
hey,
Jeremy.
thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And
Yeah,
talk to you soon.
sounds good. Ciao.
Bye.